do this T1 Zeus thing first. Like, it's sort of an update, an addendum to the off-season. What's bizarre is there's two parts to this story. If people don't know, basically, the people who were like basically Zeus and Hanwha Life and the agency have all like collectively, I mean, Zeus and his family and some of the other people before had already sort of like tried to make their own statements, but now even like basically the agency themselves have come out and they haven't just disputed, they've just completely directly sort of disagreed with what Joe Marsh and T1 said in the offseason. There's two parts to this. One is I actually think this is where Joe Marsh himself has stepped in it a little bit, mate, because I don't think that this really comes out of the blue. Like, I think if you're actually Zeus or the Hanwha Life or the agency, actually, because he just won first stand, you don't need to say anything. Everything's going great for you, mate. One, you got the deal you wanted, you got the more money, you got to a better team, you've just become a champion without them, by the way, which is playing great for your narrative. You just won an international. Remember, T1 had only won Worlds before that. Like, it's all going great, but I think I know why this happened, because you have to take it to T1 and Joe Marsh, which is, if you notice, Yamato, magically, right when they were winning first stand was when Joe Marsh decided to do a bunch of things. Like, one, he did this interview where the headline was like, you know, sort of, who cares if we didn't win LCK? We did win those two worlds, didn't we? And everyone would trade with us. First of all, the timing on that, you petty bitch. I can tell you an example from Counter-Strike that this reminds me of, Yamato, which is ESL, who've obviously been the big dogs in Counter-Strike tournament organising for years. They, every single time, you can go and watch this, they are so petty when another tournament organizer gets the major from Valve, right? What they will do is this, Yamato. During your major, while you're in the playoffs, at your biggest moment of your event, they will always announce, like, tickets on sale for Katowice or Cologne next, and they're trying to, like, you know, draw some of the juice away from your moment, because they're not doing anything. They're just at home, you know. So what they do is that's the time. First of all, that's one thing I felt like the timing was just right there for. And then secondly, because obviously T1's built up this whole narrative of what happened in the offseason, he also alluded to some of those things where, and this is the problem, I always wondered if this drama would ever come out. I was scared it would get buried, because if you remember, people are going to retcon this now, but T1 said some, and Joe Marsh said some really extreme things in the offseason. They weren't just saying, like, you know, oh, we thought we would get Zeus, or I wish he'd given us more time, or what. They were saying things, if you remember, like, first of all, Joe Marsh told a story, if you remember, where he implied, like, maybe Zeus didn't even want this move. In fact, maybe Zeus doesn't even get a say in his moves. And he even told this story about how in a past year when they'd re-signed him, they made it sound like Zeus was like 1 second from being put on a boat to China by like a fucking Cobra or something. And that suddenly they had to run in like, whoa, 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 whoa. Do you really want to do this? He was like, no, please save me. And then they like rescued him back to C1. So first of all, they did that, which by the way is really clever for their fans, because it sort of makes it like, don't blame Zeus or Oz, just blame this agency or blame Hanwha Life. You can pick which. Was it Hanwha Life set the deadline? Was it the agency lying and not giving you the proposal? So they did that first of all, which is quite extreme, by the way, because I think it did imply that Zeus doesn't want to join the team. Turns out, by the way, that's maybe even true if you look at actually what has been said later. But then the other thing they said, and they weren't shy about this, mate, was they openly said they were going to take like legal action against the agency, and about how like they almost made it sound like it was one of those things that the vibe was almost like, you'll never work in this town again for what you've done. And they weren't just implying like, by the way, we'll tell everyone that you did this. They were saying shit like, we'll sort of sue the pants off you, or we'll fuck you up. Maybe, who knows, maybe we'll go like Kesper and get you banned as an agent or something. It was quite strong terms. So I thought, because Hanwha Life and Zeus and the agency have won, they were just going to do that thing of like, just kill it with silence. Just let it disappear into the background. But because of this thing where Joe Marsh has made these comments, bro, it's the opposite. They've done the Thorin. They've gone like, right, well, you know what? If you're going to fire a shot back, Yamato, the Thorin move is, you don't go, he shot a bullet at me, I shoot a bullet back. You go, he shot a bullet at me, launch all the nuclear weapons. It's like that Iron Man 1, like, you know, where he's like, oh, and all those missiles are going over. That's me when I do like a video. I just go fucking ham, don't I? Everything in the locker just comes out, mate. I get it all out there. So, bro, this is some fucking strong rebuttal stuff. Like, basically, they've actually, here's the thing, I won't be biased and pretend like their story is the truth and the other one was a lie, but if you just add it all together, the picture's gotten very interesting now. So let's get into some of this. Like, basically, some of the gist of what they said was, like, first of all, it was implied actually, if T1 had offered Zeus, like, By the way, it's actually, funny enough, this did line up with what was being said in the offseason. If you remember in the offseason, the thing about Zeus was never actually the money part. I make it about the money because I think it's nonsense you'd underpay the guy when he won. He made it clear, based on this statement made, that he even would have taken the low ball salary if you just gave him the extra year. You know, he wanted like 2 years instead of 1, or like a 3 instead of a 2. Whatever he wanted by years. It sounds like he just wanted security, basically. He didn't even want the money. It even sounds like, basically, he would have stayed with T1. And I even will read between the lines. It actually sounds like he felt like he was almost forced to then go to Hanwha Life, because otherwise T1 was going to, this is where it's a little bit of a tricky point. It was almost implied that the reason they couldn't wait for T1 is because then there'd only be T1 left, and then they can just get you for whatever they offer. Then they can give you the low money and the no years. So his only sort of play to try and get what he wanted, which was a longer year and like a big was he had to then go to Hanwha, this is where we might see if T1 says it's a lie or not. They claimed, remember, famously, that there was no counter proposal from the agency, and that they didn't get a chance to sort of talk to him again. That's been disputed. They claim that actually they did give counter proposals, and that supposedly right before he signed with Hanwha, that Zeus even actually directly talked to someone, the negotiator from T1. By the way, I take the implication there being like, look, I don't want to join. Can we just make this deal work? And for whatever reason, if this is true, T1 chose to play hardball even then and sort of be like, no, this is all we're offering. And then, but then bizarrely turn around and go, what? He left? Like, how? Like, I thought you were part of the team. So there's a load on this stuff. We're not going to do like a whole stream breakdown, but I want to get your initial thoughts on it, because I think this is quite illuminating. It's quite interesting sort of counterbalance to Joe Marsh's takes. I think some of it seems like it agrees, some it doesn't. What do you think?
You know, the crazy thing is, like, when it all came out the first time and the whole PR statement came out, like, I remember there was like words about how the agency said this is like, we're going to provide evidence to say all of these things that are untrue, because they like made claims about this agency, and all the data and all the information, all the proof has been vetted by very reputable fucking sources in Korea. Like, that YouTube channel that did the initial breakdown has a fucking stellar reputation of covering videos like this, and they did it in a very unbiased manner. They basically added the subtitles and so forth, and they said, like, unless T1 add proof, this is the proof that we have, and we vetted it, and it makes sense. And a lot of the conversation was that T1 tried to frame it in a way that they had no chance to do a counter proposal. They were just like misled and misguided throughout the entire process. And it seems like the agent was doing a great job. He was acting in the best interest of Zeus, of course. In the end, it's like people were acting as if he, like you mentioned yourself, like fucking he got shipped off on a fucking weird ass boat somewhere and the agent kidnapped him, you know? But he's joining Hanwha Life.
I know, they were making that joke of sort of like blink twice if you're in danger, Zeus. Like, they were making it sound like that, weren't they? True.
Yeah. And it turns out, you know, that the agency also provided proof that they get zero commission on what they do with Zeus. It's just like a situation where they get commission, I believe, on whatever ad revenue they bring in terms of like sponsorships or personal deals, is how I understand it, which is an additional layer that basically Zeus is just like their trophy piece to kind of attract other clients. There was also that speculation about how this agency was involved with the agency that represents Keen, and that they were colluding to make the most amount of money. It's like the speculation ran so wild. My only idea was, maybe Zeus just wanted to leave T1 and he leveraged the T1 offer to get more money out of Hanwha Life. This is how I like, in the worst case scenario from the agency side, that this is what they did. But now they have confirmed that Zeus wanted to stay on T1, and the money was such a deal breaker in the end. And of course, the contract length that they asked for in, the end of it all. But the crazy aspect of everything is, it's like, how much revenue are you in the hole now because you didn't sign Zeus? I think it's just complete disrespect to negotiate from a position where you think, we are the org, you owe us something. When in reality, if you just look at it from a strategic position, Zeus, the top laner that the whole market would wait for. I think it was surprising that Genji didn't even throw the hat in the race, or maybe Keen didn't even, consider his position. He's the last piece of that roster. His leverage in that offseason was immense. And to T1 to act in a way where they had no respect for that and lowball him from that position is absolutely crazy. It makes me think, it's like, in regards to the one thing that we gave T1 props for in terms of how they've managed things in terms of like Faker. Has Faker also been lowballed somehow? Maybe those conversations they worked on in that scenario, and Faker felt at home. Maybe Faker's making too little money. Who knows? It just, in terms of where everything lands now, especially with the recent statement that they released in regards to Gumayushi as well, it's just that the PR game that Joe Marsh is playing, it's as if he's just fucking around. It's so extremely unserious.
In the PR game, he's running it down.
It's completely into
it. Here's the thing. I purposely left that out, Yamato. We'll do it piecemeal. So we'll get to the recent Joe Marsh / the fans going against Joe Marsh. Oh, too delicious. It's too rich. I feel like I'm just eating pure pate. I'm going to get gout from how delicious this is. But anyway, that's dessert. Get to that later. I'm finishing my main meal now. Here's the thing. On this first thing, though, of the Zeus thing, bro, there's a couple of angles here. This is one of the areas, guys, where you have to understand it's just experience in the industry and knowing things behind the scenes that lets me have insight that you won't get if you're just the fan or you're just reading the statement. Is if you notice, whenever I read a PR statement, Yamato, I sort of try to read between the lines of like, oh, this is what they're sort of alluding to, or this is what they're referencing, or they can't say this overtly, but they sort of mean this here, So one of the things that I want to get to is this. I actually did make some guesses that I think have been all sort of justified by what happened in this particular case, which is, first of all, there's a thing about Korea specifically that doesn't even seem to actually apply to the LPL. Because I always used to think the LPL was the worst league for like keeping you in like contract prison, which is if you came up in the LPL and you played for teams like IG or RNG or something, bro, unless you're like Uzi or you can't leave. Like, you either play because you're their player or they just put you on the bench. And the joke is you literally, like Ning, can just go from like, I'm the world champion to like, I'm just on the bench and I don't even play League of Legends anymore. That can happen. Like in that country back then, it almost was like, we own you. Like, it's not like football, where the joke in football in Europe is we're so individualistic in the West. It's even considered bad manners, Yamato, in football to have a world-class player just on the bench who never plays. You're actually supposed to like loan him out and let him play elsewhere and show his value. And then the idea is you sell him if he's not like if people don't know, the guy fucking Cole Palmer, who plays for Chelsea now, used to just be on Man City. In fact, there's a whole bunch of players like that where they proved themselves elsewhere and they went to other squads. So I think the LCK is worse now, though. But I think one thing they share, Yamato, is because they don't always sign big-name players, it's not just a more open market. If you came up through their org, they do sort of feel like they own you. It's why you've got to understand the K-pop model. If you understand that esports in Korea is modeled on how the K-pop industry works, K-pop is famous, bro, that you can be in one of the biggest K-pop bands in the world, but because you were nobody before they scouted you for that job, and I'm going to say some things now you don't agree with, this is just my opinion, they gave you the plastic surgery to make you look like the right person. They designed your whole persona. You don't come up with like, I'm the cute baby girl and I'm the one who's just a rapper. No, they decide all that. The agency decides all that because they're experts about what people want in the field and market research. They basically give you your career, sort of. Now, the problem is your talent then makes it work. If you were shit, obviously you would have to replace the person. But it means that famously, some of the biggest K-pop singers in the world are not making millions and millions of dollars like a Western, like rock guitarist would, mate. They're still on the contract where they might be in the biggest band, but they might be on like an $80,000 a year contract where it's super restrictive and you can only do certain things. And by the way, forget the idea you could ever leave and go to a different K-pop group. No fucking way. Like, you're just there to be in there too. I actually think some of these teams, if they brought you through their academy, they brought you into their team, you weren't a famous player before, I think there's a bit of that sentiment remaining over. So I think the most shocking thing for T1, and this is why I think they were so vicious with their statements in the offseason, is I think to them, this is like, they think Zeus betrayed them. They were like, we brought you into this team. We put you in over Canna. We developed this roster. We stuck with you guys even when you didn't win LCK. Yeah, you won the Worlds, so we said, we'll run it back one more year. See if you can win again. You won Worlds again. But like, so I think to them, even though as a Westerner, by the way, I don't see this at all. I told you, I saw it the other way around, like you were just describing. I saw Zeus as like the number one possible free agent. In fact, I'm with you. If I was fucking Gen G, I'd have even got in that mix and said, hey, you know what? Kane's really good, but hey, maybe we can get Zeus out of this. Maybe we have like a three-way swap here and it's like some crazy off-season of bidding war. Bizarrely, they didn't. So it was just in the end, Animal Life and then potentially some LPL teams and then T1. So I think, first of all, I think they maybe feel like we own you and you sort of owe us extra than just, I mean, by the way, I would say he did give you 2 worlds. Like, is that not enough? Like, I think I've repaid the fucking debt a little bit. It's not like Canada was winning me worlds. But then also, you said it before, the dumbest thing of this is it's so short-sighted. Like, let's say it's true what both parties are saying that seems like they agree on, which is Zeus didn't actually want what I even want, which is his market value on the biggest contract in the world. He just wanted an extra year on his deal, right? First of all, I think that's justified anyway. He's an amazing player, but it's so dumb in terms of a short-sighted move that to not get that, what's now happened is you ruined the whole ZOFGK branding, which was your whole leaning. Because I'm with you, Yamato. The bigger picture for that is, okay, we have to tank 1 extra year on this guy's contract, but then it all works. Then we've got it all. We've got all that merch. We've got, by the way, think about what this year would be like instead, Yamato. The whole year, even if they're shit because of the last 2 years, would be, do they win the 3rd one though? Are they the greatest team of all time? Have they overtaken the old T1? Every narrative that you love if you're in T1 would be on. Now they're all off. And in fact, we'll get to it later, because of the Gumayushi thing, it's not even DO FGK. It's DO, maybe it's SK, or should it be GK? Now we're not even doing the original roster, which gets into a separate thing. So I think I'm with you, bro. One of the biggest blows if you're Joe Marsh is if I'm your boss, I'm going, mate, your entire plan's fallen apart because you let the last piece not work. Basically, the last piece of the jigsaw didn't work. And in this analogy, we just can't even see what the picture is. Like it's just gone. Like all we had to do was sign that guy, and then we could have run this all back. No one even knows. By the way, the saddest thing about that move is this: I don't even think they should have run the whole roster back, Yamato. Like, look, part of me does, because if you win, I think you should get a chance to defend, if you know what I mean. But I still thought they could have upgraded that roster or made a different move elsewhere. But I will say, you could have lost every tournament this year, and the marketing would have carried it. You would have had that K-pop thing of we are ZOFGK, and we did win the 2 worlds, and look at our team, and what the up and down. And also, actually, the last 2 years play into this narrative. You could have even socked it. It's like, we'll get it together for worlds again. As long as we make it there, who cares? I think there's so much. I'm with you, mate. I think the biggest hint of all by Joe Marsh, before we get to the Gumayushi and the truck thing, is just that part is like, for the sake, if it's true, I have to keep saying that because I can't tell if they're lying. I haven't investigated this. I'm not on the ground in Korea doing journalism. I'm just looking at statements like all of us. The biggest hint of Joe Marsh is that it sounds like, for the sake of just putting a 2 instead of a 1 on a contract, he's just lost the whole thing. He had his entire dream of the ZOFGK, which would have been like a historic marketing campaign. It's just gone. You've hinted it. That's kind of crazy, mate.
Just from strictly financial incentive, it's like in terms of how the community would run defense for this org and the team would just be endless. If they didn't win worlds this year, it would be because it's fearless. It would be a reason. It would be fine.
Yes.
Like they would be like defended no matter what. It's like they captured the fucking zeitgeist in terms of the fandom, you know, and to let go of that for monetary reasons in that. Like, I can't imagine Zeus was asking for something that would be so absurd beyond fucking recognition. Like, in terms of what they lost and what they had, it's like they had fucking lightning in the bottle times 100.
Yes.
And like the main thing, the funniest part of that whole thing, like when I read between the lines was like it seemed like they were. I also had this notion that they seem very, very angry with Zeus, but they can't say it because maybe they want to resign. So they need to direct that somewhere.
Yeah, true.
And they directed on the little guy who happens to be like Gorilla's brother, who is an agent. Okay. And they like fucking really, really fucking dragged his name through the mud. And the community reacted to that. And he became like the reason why the roster broke up in the end. And in that moment in time, it's like the PR.
This is how you know I'm a little bit tired today. I actually just Googled Gorilla Brother, thinking that would show it. Just showed a bunch of gorillas. I'm just a bit tired. It's all good. Keep going.
It's like the PR played out in that moment. It's like they deflected. But if they knew the proof was there, it's just so stupid and short-sighted. The only thing that they can say now, if they have that any like proof at all, was that basically the only thing that could maybe change the conversation is that they kind of implied that Zeus said he wants to sign with the team and they were ready to do so, right? Yeah. Like as the implication was that there's some kind of verbal agreement. Yeah. And the moment they got the first offer, they, like as the agent stated in the statement, was like, "Oh, we are going to test the market because this offer is a joke here." And that was, of course, the correct move. Like the agent acted in the best interest of Zeus. But if they have the proof that there was some kind of agreement in place that he's going to resign, maybe this is something that can swing, the conversation some type of way. But other than that, I don't know what they can possibly do or say to dig them. This is completely over. Like if he had full receipts on the counter offers and the conversations, and there was 7 times there was back and forths in terms of what the contract is. 7 times? Like 7 times is crazy. Like I've negotiated my contract so many times. 7.
It's like you said, if it was the T1 side, which their side, Yamato, was more like they wanted to get to free agency so they could just use our offer to get a higher offer from elsewhere. No, because if you do that, I agree with you. If it's true that they went back and forth 7 times, that does imply that, look, Zeus's agent wanted to know the market value so he could get a better deal for Zeus, but it sounds like from T1. It does sound like in good faith they actually did want him if they agreed to the right terms to be on T1. It even sounds like potentially Zeus was open for it, which doesn't mean he's against going on with life, but it sounds like actually if you'd have asked him his dream, which obviously, by the way, you would never say this out loud during a negotiation, it would be suicide. If you could say to Zeus out loud, just tell me the truth, what do you want in this offseason? It sounds like he would just say, I would just like a 2-year contract and slightly more money and to be on T1 again. And to have the same roster. It sounds like he was in for it. So I think that's a bummer. And then secondly, this will lead into the whole Gumayusi smash and the truck thing, which is, then when Joe Marsh now becomes like the central figure in this story, which is when you make this squad, this is where doing the K-pop model has gone too far, because it seems like they're GMing based on the K-pop model. Because here's the problem, Yuato. I don't know how many Western fans get this, because unfortunately you'd have to violate people's privacy and show their public Twitter account on stream like Dom did. Oh my God. And show what fans are like. But bro, if you want to ask people what the popularity within T1 goes like, as far as I know, it goes like this, Yamato. Number 1, Faker, obviously. Number 2, as far as I can tell, is Gumayusi. Like, Gumayusi is hella popular. Number 3, might even be Keria then. Number 4, it's going to be Ornn. The point is, Zeus is bottom of the list. As far as I can tell, Zeus was bottom of the list anyway. So if you were treating this like K-pop, well, remember, the joke of K-pop, Yamato, is some of them aren't amazing singers or musicians. They're just people who were brought in and sort of cast for that if you don't know, K-pop sort of works around archetypes. It's the same concept as Western girl and boy bands. The idea is you want all the kids and teenagers to have one person they can pick out they identify with. Either it's like, I'm the like edgy hip hop one who does the rapping, or I'm the cutesy baby girl, or I'm the one who's like sexy but standoffish and a bit of a bitch or whatever. Everyone has their own archetype, right? If you were using that model, right, in K-pop, it's fine to just sign the most popular members, because by definition, the most popular members are the most important members of the team. The problem in League of Legends is the game client doesn't care if Gumayusi is more popular than Zeus. The game client rewards Zeus because he's the better player. And so what you fucked up here, Yamato, is this is like, in K-pop, I signed the most popular players, and it was only the one at the end, the least popular singer I didn't get. But it turns out that player in the team was the one that completed it. He like made the whole team what it was, and he was the kind of the crown jewel, as it were, in some ways. I mean, yes, and Faker in terms of as a captain, but as a player, it's his for me. Like I thought he was. I said this in my video. To me, I think where Joe Marsh fucked up is if I have to make ZOFGK as a lineup, I already have Faker. The number 1 person, I'm immediately getting Zeus locked down. Once I've got Zeus, by the way, then I can go, right, Ornn, I want you as well for the Faker combo. Now I can look at the bot lane. By the way, think about this, guys. Here's an angle you've never thought about. What if they'd done it that way, and at the end it's Gumayusi they didn't get? They had Smosh waiting anyway. That even could plausibly have worked as a lineup. So I think they've already hinted like the K-pop angle, and then that now plays in, funnily enough, to this world of Gumayusi. Because I'll tell you one person I don't feel sorry for, Yamato, and it is Joe Marsh. Bro, you played this game. You played this game where you catered to the nutter T1 fans. By the way, they've done this for years, Yamato. I think the most suspicious one, it's why it's a bit weird for me. I always feel a bit conflicted when LS publicly defends Joe Marsh, because I know it's based on his personal relationship with Joe Marsh, but I do kind of feel a bit like what Richard's Wrath said. I feel like if Joe Marsh has the control everyone claims, then you could have just squashed all that thing about LS not being the coach at the beginning. You didn't have to let it like spiral out and become a thing that lasted a month long, and there was all people in the Discord hating on him, and then there was all drama in Korea. Should he work? Shouldn't he? What happened when fucking Mellish, his friend, said something on that became a whole thing that I feel like if he'd really had the power he says now, he could have just squashed that immediately and be like, look, we're doing this move, I'm sticking with it. So the reason why I bring this up is because I feel like Joe Marsh has essentially like fed the lions of his ultras in his fan base, and now he's turned around and he's going, "Help! The lions are eating me." It's like, Joe, you're part of the I like lions to eat people party. You can't now claim when they eat you, bro. Like you fed those motherfuckers. You built that lion's den. You got that fan base. It's even what we're implying you wanted to market towards, quite smartly, by the way. There's NOFGK, not a thing of like they all have to be together and they're all the best friends and it's a unit. So he's built this thing up, and then there's two aspects this has happened with. One, obviously, there's the whole thing that like the coaching staff, for whatever reason, I trust them, by the way. I assume they're very good coaches. They wanted Smash instead of Gumayusi. And if you look at Joe Marsh's statement, it's implied they still want Smash instead of Gumayusi. We talked about this last episode. So Joe Marsh, for whatever reason, has publicly said, not just we are using Gumayusi, it's okay, fans. But this is where I don't feel sorry for him, Yamato. He went out of his way in that PR statement to say like he requested it. What he's saying there is this, Yamato. He's going, don't worry, fans. Daddy Joe's here and he's going to take care of things. And what's going on here? This can't stand. I'm with you guys, fans. Guma has to play. Come on, we have to put it. If you do that, then spoiler, you become the target also when the fans turn against you. And so if people don't know the story, this is not a joke. They've now called the trucks on Joe Marsh. Not even just like players playing like shit or the losing. They called the trucks on Joe Marsh, like the lighting of one of the torches of Gondor, or whatever. Like they've done that. They've actually rallied the Bannerman against Joe Marsh, Yamato. And in fact, if you ever go and read it, there's a few things about this that crack me up. Because actually, the one area I'm on Joe Marsh's side is these are the unhinged T1 fans I hate personally. Like, even the statement, Yamato, contains lines that I think are so beyond the pale. Yeah. Like, the statement contains lines like, this will be the final warning of the fans. Like, what? What is the implication? What, are you just going to kill me or something? Or are you just going to, like, stop being a fan? Like, bro, this is some crazy ultimatum shit. The idea of, like, you've probably seen this, Yamato. If you ever, sometimes in Italian football, when one of the legendary clubs, Milan or Juventus, sometimes when those clubs have a bad season, there actually have been famous videos where like the ultras will go to like the bottom part of the stand and like berate the player or the manager. And by the way, just like Joe Marsh, sometimes those players will take it you out because they understand like, look, these guys are like the ultimate fans of Milan or whatever, like, and they used to winning. So I have to sort of like take the abuse because it's like, okay, yeah, you're right. Like, we should be better. We'll get it back there. Sorry. We'll try harder. Whatever. First of all, they've done that. But then also, just as an aside, there's just one random detail at the bottom that just cracked me up, bro, because it's just a pure typo. At the bottom, they've just typoed it and written his name instead of Joe Marsh as Joe Mash. I don't know why. It just says something about Joe Mash at the bottom. You have to go and read this statement, guys. It's so funny. So give me some thoughts on this, because this is a totally separate drama, mate. Like, it's a mixture of it is the Gumayusi Smash thing. But the one thing I never understood is this. I actually can't tell, so I want to get your take. I thought Joe Marsh had actually played his hand smartly by doing what I think me and Joe Marsh as Westerners were on the same page here. We all thought if Joe Marsh says, guys, you all want Guma back, it's DOFGK now, whatever, and he's back, I've personally requested it. Surely Joe Marsh should be the most popular person with T1 fans. It sounds like the Korean T1 fans, though, liked Smash apparently, or they wanted that roster. Or maybe the anglers, they trust Koma or something. I don't know what the angle there is, but it sounds like they actually find it. You can even weave this in. I'll throw this in there as a bonus. You can choose to pick it up or not. You could even maybe imply they don't like the idea of an American Westerner is having a say over the org as opposed to the Koreans in the org and legendary coaches like They don't like the idea someone's interfering. So it seems like specifically him saying he requested it is backfired. So where are we going on this? There's so many angles to this. What are we going to get in on this? Come on.
I guess it was like the first initial reaction, right? From what I saw reading comments, like being on the subreddit too, at least like in terms of the fans that are like on the Western social media. In the beginning, it was like they were calling for the heads of the coaches because they didn't like elaborate closely on why they took the decisions and so forth. But it slowly became a conversation in terms of Gumayusi fans became angry too, because Gumayusi is just put in a position where it's like just seems like he was granted the spot, not because of skill reasons. He was just granted it for like money reasons, monetary reasons, pressure reasons. Gumayusi fans are not happy. Smash fans are not happy. T1 fans are not happy because as an extension, it's like it was the first initial reaction was, oh, Gumayusi is back. But the coaches were fucking angry at them for them creating this circumstance. But I was very happy to see that the reaction was, yo, this PR segment is bullshit. He just threw everybody under the bus.
Yeah.
To the point that it created such a pile that the bus fucking backflipped, bro. It's a complete mess because the whole statement is just manufactured in a way to make him a hero. Like that statement had in-game details where he's talking about how we need a bot lane carry in Gumayushi because of meta changes. It's like the audacity you have as a CEO to even talk about it. And sure, it's like, I agree, there's like these subset of fans that are completely nuts, like the T1 fan union. There's like the fucking
I don't know, like the union of fans. Like, what are we talking about?
There's like another one, like the ones that were like sending like hearses and shit.
The problem I don't get about that is, listen, the idea of a union's a great idea, Martin. You know, the people get together, their voices represented. No, you're the fans. You have no say in it. You're just a fan. Like, you're making it sound like you're the players. Like, hey, our fan union is not really happy about it. What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
It's like that group is so fucking nuts. And then I believe there's a second group. I think it's called like T1 Gallery. They are the ones that were like hating on Gumayushi, sending fucking like funeral flowers. They like doxed his parents' church. Okay. They like doxed his parents' church. It's like, for no reason at all, there's a certain pro player, his family and his sister go to this church. And I'm stating it for no reason at all. So they are completely nuts.
The joke there you're about to is they hire like the fucking priest. He comes up on Sunday. This will be your final warning, anyone in the crowd there. If you stop a young player from playing your position, you will go to hell. This is your final warning. And fuck Jomash, the devil. It's out of pocket. I know why. By the way, the idea they're doxing like the players of T1. Your fans of T1, you lunatics. What are you doing? This is the behavior. By the way, you know that famous saying we have in English, that idiom, Yamato, where it goes, with friends like these, who needs enemies? Bro, we don't even need ultras from other teams to fuck up T1 players' lives. Their own fans are doing it. Like, Gen G doesn't even need ultras. The ultras who hate T1 are in T1. The call's coming from inside the house.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.